Hey folks, Brad Scott, Canadian and Cowboy Outdoors here. Hey listen, through experience, biology, science and technology, we're going to make you a better angler. That's right, we're going to cut through the crap, use a little common sense to catch you more and bigger fish. Alright, today in this video we're going to talk about worm hooks. Worm hooks or creature bait hooks. The hooks that you're going to use for your speed worms. You're going to use them on your lizards. You're going to be using them flipping big worms or even on your stick baits, folks. These are the ones that we usually use to Texas rig our soft plastics. Now, folks, you're going to throw out all the worm hooks you have right now. This box here in front of me, I haven't opened this box in a couple of years since I found this secret out. Okay, listen, there's only 3 kinds of hooks that I'm going to use for the rest of my fishing career when it comes to soft plastics. Listen, I'm going to be going with a big flipping hook, okay? So obviously with the big flipping hook, you can see how the straight shank and then the bend in the hook is way out where the point has a big distance from the shank of the hook. Big flipping hook, I like to use with big creature baits, soft plastics. The beaver tails, flipping a cricket, whatever you got, something like that. Whenever you're punching thick mats, using very heavy braid, you'll see there's a reason why that we have moved back to straight shanked hooks for flipping big baits and moved away from the extra wide gap. Folks, the extra wide gap hooks are a thing of the past. Check these big hooks out, 3, 4, and 5/0 and extra heavy for your creature baits when you're flipping your 1.5, 2 ounce tungsten into thick mats, 50, 80-pound braid. Folks, this is the hook you're going to use. The second hook, we're going to get into the business of what we call hybrid hooks. That's right. So it's kind of like a worm hook and an extra wide gap had a baby and is a hybrid. So we're used to using, in the history of bass fishing, these worm hooks. These are your traditional worm hooks right here. You see that. You see how it's got a very straight shank. It's got the full 180 bend in the hook, and the point is a lot higher than your contact point is of where your line tie is. This is your traditional worm hook. Folks, this is another throwback that we're coming back to, and we're going to be using this in just about every single stick bait, every single worm bait that we are fishing nowadays that is of a moderate size. Anywhere from the 5.5 inch Senkos or stick baits to your 6-inch speed worms. These are the hooks that we're going to be using for those, folks. I'm going to get into the why, all right, in a minute. And you're going to learn the science of why we're choosing these hooks and going back to this. And the third hook that we're going to be using solely, and this is a hybrid worm hook, folks. This is a hybrid between the extra wide gap and with a traditional straight shanked worm hook that we just saw. Now, what makes it a hybrid is, here's your traditional, or I would say now the old modern extra wide gap hook, folks. There it is right there. Now, I want you to see something. We're going to get into the science of why these hybrid hooks are the only hooks you're going to want to use. So I made you this little hook graph. I used real hooks to show you the difference between the old extra wide gap hooks and the new hybrid hooks. Okay, folks, we're talking about the hook set line of attack. That's right. So this is where your line ties on. I want you to pay very close attention to how in line the point of the hook is to the point of attachment. This is a 5/0 owner. This is a 3/0 Bass Pro Shops EWG. Line tie and hook point. Now we're going to move over here. This is the VMC Red Line hybrid hook. You can see where the line tie here is. The hook point is a lot higher up and not in plane with your hook setting line of attack. And of course, the Trocar worm hook, straight shank worm hook we're using here, and you can see your line tie and see how high up that hook point is. Folks, why does that make a difference? Why are we going to use the hybrid and the worm hook? Well, that's because that hook point is going to sit a lot higher in the plane in which you are setting the hook. A little bit of a demonstration. If I take a Bass Pro Shops extra wide gap and you see that plane, that hook, when you set the hook, will not hook into the fish's mouth. It's just sliding on my skin because This point is protecting the hook. When the fish's mouth is closed, you set the hook and everything is in line with that, where you set that hook with that line tie, and it'll slide out. If we move over to the VMC hook that is offset, you'll notice when we pull from the line tie that every time I pull, it catches into, that's starting to really hurt. It's really catching into the skin. Folks, you cannot slide this bait out of a fish's mouth on a hook set when your point is higher than the point of where you attach your line. All right, take another quick look at my little scale here. This is the Onar Extra Wide Gap, Bass Pro Shops EWG. Now we're going to the hybrid. You can get those in VMC. I know Gamatsu makes a hybrid as well. And also, this is why we're going and using the straight shank worm hooks. Those points of the hook are higher than the point of attachment. You're going to get a very higher percentage. Listen, there's also one more point to make on these hooks, and that's called the offset. You'll see a lot of hooks that are advertised as EWG hybrid offset hooks. What's the offset part? Well, the offset part, folks, and I'll show you here, we got the VMC red line again. That is the plane of the hook in compared to the shaft when it's vertical. That means that this hook is twisted out. It's twisted out, so anything going along the side is going to get hooked. If I had run a plain EWG sideways, it doesn't get hooked as well. It is not sticking out. It is protected by the rest of the shaft. When you have an offset hook, that hook is bent. I don't know if you can see it. It's bent in. That means when I set the hook, not only is it above the point of attachment, it's also twisted out. So it's going to hook into the skin here, and I'm not going to really damage myself as much. But when you set the hook, you have excellent hook set percentage. All right, folks, I'd like to thank you for joining me again. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like it. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and I'll get right back to you. Thank you very much, folks, and we'll see you on the water.